When you need to build up your team to handle the growing chaos at work, use Indeed Sponsored Jobs. It gives your job post the boost it needs to be seen and helps reach people with the right skills, certifications, and more. Spend less time searching and more time actually interviewing candidates who check all your boxes. Listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit at Indeed.com/podcast. That's Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Need a hiring hero? This is a job for Indeed Sponsored Jobs.
On today's Film and Whiskey, we are talking to John McCarthy, founder of the John Barleycorn Society and the Barleycorn Awards, which, spoiler alert, Brad and I were judges for. I'm excited to talk about this, Brad. That's all ahead on Film and Whiskey. Well, hey, everybody. Welcome into the Film and Whiskey podcast. I'm Bob Book.
I'm Brad G.
And we're back with another special bonus episode.
Bonus episode.
And this is, Brad, one of the more exciting bonus episodes we've done in a while because we're talking spirits competitions. There's nothing like a good competition. As you know from our season-ending bracket challenges, we don't get to do enough spirits-related competitions, Brad.
I was going to say, if there's anything that matters in this world, it is taking beautiful art forms and reducing them to cold, hard, mathematical numbers. And I got to say, Bob, the Barleycorn Awards were so much fun to judge for. I freaking loved this process. I also really loved interviewing John McCarthy. We had such a great time talking to him, and I'm excited for you guys to hear it.
Yeah, so if you've been a longtime listener of Film and Whiskey, then you know that this is not our first rodeo when it comes to judging spirits competitions. But typically, you know, when you are on the judging panel for a competition, it involves an in-person component. Like you got to go somewhere, you got to sit in a room, and you get a flight of spirits put in front of you. Typically, you're given like a category. Hey, you're drinking, barrel-proof bourbons that are over 10 years old. And here's 8 samples to sip through. Nobody knows what you're drinking, but your whole table will sip through and you'll kind of talk through what was good, what was bad, what you want to qualify for, moving on to whatever the next round might be. The Barleycorn Awards, by extension, have flipped that model on its head, Brad. We were sent a box of whiskey in the mail, and it was like, I think I got 25 samples. Here's 25 unnamed samples, and they had a code name, and we got a link to go onto a portal and put our scores in, and that's all we knew about these. But I think crucially, the selling point here, Brad, is that we didn't have to go anywhere to do it.
Amen. It felt similar to the experience of a 90-minute movie, Bob.
It really did. We've basically Netflixed the judging criteria.
I don't think we want to go there, Bob. This was not second screen judging content. I will say, Bob, for me, the ability as a judge to sit down on a random Tuesday at 1 p.m, because I had a free hour while my kids were napping, and just sample 3 or 4 whiskeys over an hour, to have time to reset my palate, to actually drink the whiskeys and not spit. Like, I loved this process, and I just really enjoyed the ability to do it over a few weeks at my own leisure. Yep. What a great time, dude.
I feel like we're kind of giving people context and we're kind of not. So we were sent a box of alcohol in the mail as a judge on this tasting panel, and we were given like pretty loose, not I would say loose guidelines, because it's like our scores corresponded to very obviously stratified, like, hey, if you score this out at this level, it corresponds to giving this a gold or a double gold or whatever. But I think, again, crucially, like we didn't have to go anywhere to do it, and we were given a longer period of time to do our reviews. So it wasn't like, hey, you have to have this done today, which it would have been if we were in a traditional kind of judging model. It was like, hey, we got this on, a Tuesday, and the deadline for getting your scores in is 2.5 weeks from now. And you could do it today if you want to, or you could do what Brad and I did, which is let's break this up into smaller chunks depending on the category. So sometime like within my 25 sample box, I think I had call it 6 or 7 categories represented. So, hey, if I had a category that I had like 7 samples of whiskey in, okay, I'm going to knock that out in one day. And I know that I'm going to drink 7 things today. But other things, it was like 1. You get 1 thing from this category. Tell us what you think of it. So it was a really interesting process, Brad, because we weren't necessarily given the full panoply of things in each category, but it also allowed us to kind of space out our tasting.
And I will say, I got 1 liqueur, and it's going to come up in the interview, and I'm excited for you guys to hear about it.
I think we've given enough context here, Brad. Let's go ahead and throw over to our interview with John McCarthy, the founder of the Barleycorn Society and, by extension, the Barleycorn Awards. I'm excited for you guys to hear it.
Let's get to it.
All right, we're joined by John McCarthy, founder of the John Barleycorn Society and, by extension, the John Barleycorn Awards. John, I'm going to be saying the word John a lot, so I'm going to need to distinguish between you and the awards themselves here.
That's quite all right.
In any case, it's good to have you here, man. Nice to see you again.
Listen, just call it Barleycorn. Everybody else does.
There we go.
It is Barleycorn, no doubt. And thank you very much for having me.
So Brad and I were very graciously invited to be on the panel for the Barleycorn Awards this year, which is something that is, first of all, a huge honor for us. We love being invited to serve on these kind of panels. We love tasting competitions. What we found very quickly with Barleycorn was that it's different than any other competition we've done in a number of ways, Brad.
Mm-hmm.
I think the most obvious of which is the sort of format of the tasting experience, which I did here in my basement, as opposed to flying across the country to do somewhere else. So thank you for that, first of all.
Yeah, I will absolutely say, having judged other competitions, being able to sample like 3 or 4 whiskeys over an hour, have some palate cleansers in between, take my kids outside to ride their bikes a little bit, come back inside, sit down, refocus, pour another sample, and do that over 2 weeks. What an incredible experience to not feel pressured, not feel rushed, to be able to take actual accurate notes. I absolutely loved this format, John.
Well, that is really, really gratifying to hear. And we love it too. It has just worked for us. It's something that that when we started, it was actually like controversial to run a competition this way. To bring you back to when we started, this was like 2018. Almost with the exception of maybe one competition, everybody would fly the judges in. Oftentimes still do, and would have this kind of breakneck speed competition where you're tasting 40, 50, 60, samples over the course of a day, and then it wraps into a couple of days. It just seemed like a lot. When we first kind of started doing this, that was one of the first ideas that we began to tackle. It's like, okay, how do we reduce all that overhead and come up with a system where we can bring the whiskey to the judges? And that's when we started, immediately started doing this remotely. And now we have a facility in Dallas. They bring the brands send their whiskey to us. We pour it into 2-ounce samples. We box it up. We send it out to the judges with instructions and a digital score sheet. And then you guys, to your point, you guys have weeks to take your time with it. And we definitely find that it cuts down on, first of all, cuts down on palate fatigue big time, because you taste at your own pace. Everybody has everybody's palate can handle a certain amount. And when you know that, and with this format, you can stop what you're doing and then come back to it, another time. And it's worked really, really well. I also feel, and you said that you've been in other competitions and stuff like that, it eliminates influence. You know what I mean? There used to be a joke that, like, if David Wondrich was in the room, for example, and, he grunted after tasting something, everybody would change their score, and I don't know if it's true or not, but, whatever. You know, so it eliminates that as well. And also freed up all the overhead of like flying everybody in and putting everybody up and feeding them and paying them and everything else. It really made this possible to do it that way because, the outlay that would have been required just to do it in the conventional way. I'm not quite sure this would have gotten off the ground 8 years ago the same way if we had to work like that. And when we did it, we to be honest with you, we were criticized. People were like, "You can't run a competition that way. You need to bring everybody into a room. You need to do it like this and do it like that." And I'm like, "Well, why? Why? Like, are people going to cheat somehow? Are you going to call Clay Risen a liar? Like, you know what I mean? From the New York Times? Like, what? What are the drawbacks? And we kicked it around. We were like, all right, let's just do it. Let's just kind of start it this way and see how it goes. And thank God it went fine. And then something very interesting happened a couple of years later, which would be COVID.
That's John. I have to interrupt you.
Yeah.
As you said, we started this in 2018. I was just like, what a brilliant time to start doing a remote tasting competition, because yes, you had those people initially, but if you had waited 2 years, absolutely nobody would have questioned what you were doing.
Exactly.
But because you'd already started in 2018, boom, you guys are right there and ready to go. Nothing changes about your operation.
Exactly. We were already there. And I say you're welcome to all those guys because we proved concept. It was I don't know if they're paying attention to me or not, but hey, we put it out there.
John, we're paying attention to you.
That's the main thing.
That's right.
Good.
That's right.
So anyway, that was really cool. And then COVID came, and instead of not having a competition, everybody had to go to that format, and nobody criticizes me anymore, or I'll remind them that maybe they have to give back all their medals from the 2020 and 2021 years. And nobody wants to do that. But to be honest with you, I know for a fact that there are competitions that still work remotely because, I mean, just, it was so much less expensive to do so. And in my opinion, better. And I'll just say it,
Yeah.
Not that these guys, in these larger places, don't do a great job. Not that I don't have a lot of respect for their process and what they do, but we're really secure in how we work.
John, I think I told you when we first chatted, when you were first considering having us as judges, I stumbled upon the Barleycorn Awards. Like, I came by it honestly, because it was when we first started this podcast, Brad. I don't know if you remember, like within the first year of doing this podcast, I started asking you, it's interesting that brands are sending us product and they want us to review their product. So they clearly trust either our influence or our palates or both. Why is there not a tasting competition that is comprised of whiskey podcasters, right? And then I start looking at it, and you and I were actually like talking about all you would have to do is put them in a box and ship them off, and it wouldn't cost as much because you wouldn't have to house people, and as long as you could handle the logistics and get the whatever certifications you need to send liquor in the mail, this seems like a much easier, cost-effective way to do it. You've got a built-in kind of publicity mechanism because these people are podcasters. They will promote it for themselves. And then I start Googling about it and I'm like, shit, like this guy's already doing this. And then I look at the people that are on the roster, and it's people like New York Times writers. And so first of all, John, yes, you guys did prove, proof of concept here, but I think you're almost underselling the amount of cachet, influence, and respect that the judges have in the industry. Like, it's not as if you're just picking random people to send these to. You have a who's who list of judges for this competition.
Right. Absolutely. When we started this, the story of us starting this it goes back between myself and a guy named Ed Dalheim. And Ed Dalheim is a guy who owns a lot of, third-party competitions. He owns the Markham Awards, the Hermes Awards. There's a whole bunch of them in other genres, and he loves whiskey. He's a bourbon guy. You know what I mean? So through a mutual friend, I was connected with him, and I became a consultant because he wanted to apply what he does very successfully into the spirits world, and I became his guy, and eventually I became a partner. And very early on in this process, I was like, Ed, you know, I'm trying to sort out, like what our angle is here. There's a lot of competition out there. We have to be somebody. Like, who do you want to be? And he's like, his response was in his Texas drawl, you know, it was like, you're my spirits expert. You let me know. And I was thinking about it, and I was like, spirits expert or insider. He used some terminology like, you're the one in the business. You let me know. And I'm like, you know, that's funny you say that, Ed. I'm not in the business. I'm not in the business at all. I'm in the journalism business, but I'm not really in the spirits business. So wouldn't it make sense to create this around who I am as a spirits journalist and an author? And you know, I know, you know, I have a great Rolodex filled with some of the best, most influential, you know, spirits writers in the world. And why don't we create a Spirits Communicators Award, you know, that kind of centers around that community. And that's who we came to be. And I'm very proud of that, because we really try to, help each other in the spirits writing community. So I'm part of it. And this became a portal to, you know, give the judges extra work. And we ended up giving, you know, through charitable organizations, Barleycorn gives back to local neighborhoods, and gives back to the food and beverage industry in many different ways. So, you know, it's been very gratifying in that way. But that's kind of how it came together. That's how we became, you know, the Communicator Awards.
I mean, I'm kind of a sucker for this thing because, you know, you're on the Film and Whiskey podcast right now, but movie critics, like people who are credentialed critics that are writers for news outlets, things like that, they're typically clustered into these sort of critic societies by region. So like there's an Ohio Critics Society. Obviously, like there's big film awards at the end of the year. The New York Film Critics Circle is a big one, Chicago Film Critics. And then you have the Critics' Choice Awards at the end of the year. This is kind of the closest analog we have to that in the world of spirits. This is essentially the Critics' Choice Awards for spirits. And, it's an honor to be on the panel this year. But Brad, we've been going on and on about the way that these awards are different. I think one last thing I'd like to point out is all the competitions we've judged in the past, even after the awards were given out, Brad, we never really knew what we were awarding unless it won Best in Show in its category. They would reveal, hey, this was Best Whiskey. But some of the sort of like, you know, secondary awards, we never actually knew what won those. And so we were just kind of like, hey, we tried this one a couple months ago. Do you happen to remember what that might be? And if the people could remember months after the fact, they'd let us know.
Yeah.
What I loved about Barleycorn is the judges had an online portal that they could go in and input their notes. And once the winners were announced, we went back into our portal and we could see the names of everything that we had scored. And just to be able to say, I vividly remember my notes on this one and I can now match it to a product. Like as a consumer, not just as a reviewer, that's huge for me because some of these I really fell in love with and I didn't think I'd ever find out what they were called. And so once again, it seems like a no-brainer. And the people that are listening to this episode are probably like, I can't believe other competitions don't do that. But this is a first for me, Brad.
Yeah, absolutely. The ability to look at the end and say, wow, this is the brand that blew me away. And it was TX Whiskey or Wild Turkey or just anywhere, like a craft distillery up to the big names, and see all of it right there. It feels like there's been a move towards transparency in the industry as a whole for a while now. And Bob, I remember doing an interview with, you and I were interviewing a distillery head early on, not going to say who. And they were just like, yeah, this is my recipe and we keep it in the vault and nobody's allowed to have it. And you and I just kind of looked at each other. We didn't say anything, but we were driving away from that interview going, I think the times have moved beyond that. I think we're in a place where transparency is so valued by the customer. And so, John, I'd be curious how
transparency became so important to you as somebody who is running this competition?
Well, it's funny because it's exactly what you just said. As a writer, I appreciate transparency in spirits, in whiskey. It gives you something to talk about. It gives you something to delve into. You feel so much better educated when people just kind of tell you what's going on and pull the curtain back. Maker's Mark, for example, as the story goes, can give you every single thing about how they make their product, but you're probably not going to be able to make Maker's Mark. It's just not going to happen, right? So what are you really gaining by hiding your mash bill or something like that? It's like, okay, so what? Your mash bill is 80, 12, 8 or something like that. Like, you know what I mean? Like, what am I going to do with that? Like, oh, I have your recipe. I'm going to steal your whiskey now. It's like, you're not going to like steal my distillery, steal my still, steal my rick house, put my, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, we approach the spirits industry with hopes of transparency all the time. We certainly hope not to be misled as writers or for people to throw marketing speak at us. It is kind of part of our job to kind of parry around marketing speak and get into the heart of the matters. And we really appreciate the brands that go out of their way to pull the curtain back and show us how things go compared to those who don't, or try to hide things by with marketing and stuff like that. So there was never any. That was always the way that this was going to go. When we came into it, it was like, we have a lot of, we pride ourselves on having a lot of small distillers in our competition. Our price point is pretty good. We're a smaller competition. As you indicated, people are going to spend a little more time with our competition. And when people, begin to realize that's a lot of the stuff that we get. And a lot of times it's smaller producers. I think I forgot my train of thought here.
That's all right. I can jump off that, John. And honestly, John, I think even going back to the tasting process, it feels way more transparent and consumer friendly to say, hey, the judges are tasting this almost as if you and your buddies are doing a blind flight. Because I can't tell you how many times me and 2 or 3 friends will sit down, I'll pull out all the Glencairns that have gotten sent to me over the years and pour out 3 samples and keep it hidden. And the 3 of us will drink 3 and go, okay, well, which one do we like the most? Or I'll have my wife pour them so that I don't know what's being poured. And it's like, all right, what do we think? Where are we at? And we drink 3 whiskeys over the course of an hour. And we give our notes on it.
You're brutally honest about it.
And you're brutally honest. And that's what I did as a judge for this competition. And I feel like that grows consumer confidence to say, hey, transparently, the judges are drinking this not too dissimilar to how you might drink a blind flight with your buddies.
Exactly.
Right. And honestly, if you as a consumer are at home doing 17 of them in a flight, the way that you might at other tasting competitions, that might be a problem anyway. So we should probably address that with you.
Exactly.
Right before we pressed record, John was saying that he hasn't really had many public outlets to talk about the winners of this year's competition. And Brad, as you know, we are always the breaking news source for the spirits industry. So we're happy to provide that service once again here. John, with all the front matter out of the way, this is the part that I'm the most excited for, because you came prepared with a stack of winners to talk about, and also, I think, some ammo to use against us of our own thoughts and scores on some of these whiskeys. So I have no idea what you're going to say, but the floor is yours, my friend.
Whiskey number 17 won double gold best in show, and you guys gave it a 68.
Yeah,
yeah, exactly.
Well, we're not going to get into that, but you guys did great.
That'll be in our postmortem.
No, yeah. So what I prepared today was, first of all, I just want to congratulate everybody who entered our spring competition for Barleycorn this year. But I wanted to run through the best whiskeys with you, just to give you the top line on who won each category. And then I pulled some of your favorite spirits, so I thought we could talk about that as well. If you don't mind. And
absolutely.
If you don't mind me just finishing up my thought from before, because I kind of remembered we were talking about the craft stuff and everything. You have to realize not everybody enters these competitions thinking that they're going to be best in show. Some of these people are just coming out into the world, and they just need feedback. They need feedback beyond what their friends and their family and their distributor person tells them. You know what I mean? Like, they need real feedback, and they really do. So they'll send their stuff to our competitions, and we request. And, this is part of the reason why it's so important for us to request tasting notes on these things, because when any producer reaches out to me, I share a lot of information with them. And I share criticism with them too. If somebody just says something like terrible about a product, I would never say that out loud or say that publicly or whatever. But these people come to me and they're like, no, tell me what they said, and they really want to know, what the good parts were and the bad parts were, and because they're looking to improve and they're looking to get better. And as a competition that really caters to the craft industry, that's been a really big part of this, and also lends to the transparency that we were talking about before.
Absolutely.
So that said, and without further ado,
harshest reviews, and go.
That's it. We're going to get into the best stuff this spring, which is fantastic. And we're going to see right now that we have like a lot of major players here, several major players here, and a couple of real standouts that maybe you never saw coming. Smaller producers, who are just doing delicious things, and it's really fun. So. Right off the bat, we'll start with a big one, which is best Scotch whiskey of spring 2026. Goes to it's a blend too, and it goes to Chivas 18-year-old. Chivas 18-year-old. Yeah, delicious. Obviously, but rated really, really high. Best Irish, and I know we'll get into it, but one of you guys tasted this Irish whiskey or whatever. The Craft Irish Whiskey Company, the Don. Was that you?
John,
was that you, Brad?
I think that was the best whiskey I tasted from my whole panel. It was so freaking good.
Delicious. And, I'm really proud of them too. They entered a couple of years ago with a product that was also delicious. And I think it won Best Irish. I think it was either like that or Blue Spot or something like that. But it was very, very highly rated also from the Don. But that whiskey was like expensive, like over $1,000. And, they came in with this particular version of the Don, version of the Craft Irish Whiskey Company came in with a much lower priced, accessible whiskey, and it was smashing in the competition. It beat out some really, really, great Irish. And there it is. If you're not hip to it, the Craft Irish Whiskey Company, the Don, they did great. For sure. I got two in the American whiskey category. First of all is Best American Single Barrel Whiskey. Single barrels do not get to compete with the regular whiskeys just because of the nature of what they are, so they kind of get their own category. But Uncle Nearest Toasted Single Barrel, 39.66 was the winner there. And the Best American Whiskey was also Uncle Nearest Cognac Cask Batch 002.
Wow.
So,
okay.
Uncle Nearest being, a whiskey company that's obviously involved in a lot of turmoil right now. It's kind of cool to see that they're still churning out some really good juice, and that they're still in the game. Damn it, no matter what, they're not giving up. they keep coming, and we're here for them. But let me tell you something. That whiskey company is amazing. I watch these products, especially my own entrance in other competitions, very closely as well, and they enter so much and they win so much. It's like
consistently,
somehow they're just getting their hands on really good juice. I know a lot of it is sourced, but it's undeniable. So if you're going with Uncle Nearest and you're cracking a bottle, there's a very high chance you're going to get a good pour out of that. So there's the American whiskey category. Next up, Best American Single Malt. Dogfish Head Distilling Company, alternate take 1. Got a 95. This was the highest. This was the second highest spirit in the competition, which is saying a lot for an American single malt.
Bob and I have talked over the years how American single malt becoming its own category there are companies that have really honed what they are based on their single malts. and I am here for it.
100%. And, we can, I can go on American single malt for quite a while.
Yeah.
I know a lot about it. And I've always been a really big champion of the category, it's such an innovative style of whiskey. And it's a great story about how the American single malt community came together to, create a set of rules around themselves and kind of self-govern to keep their standards very high. But at the same time, all these guys created such a wide net for themselves that they could also be really, really innovative, because a lot of these guys, came at this from like a beer background and stuff like that. So, fermentation experts and distilling grains, from that perspective, has really opened up a whole new, category in whiskey, and hopefully it grows, and hopefully it prevails, and hopefully it becomes a lot more commonplace in our whiskey community, because I'll tell you, just a few companies that are just killing it. Stranahan's, they do amazing stuff.
Yes. Yep.
Cedar Ridge, Quint Murphy from Cedar Ridge.
The quintessential. Oh, it's fantastic, man.
Kills in every competition all the time. And it was the second highest rated American single malt in this competition. It was just edged out by Dogfish Head Distilling. And they're fantastic. Virginia, another one, Virginia Distilling Company. Just great stuff. Westward, amazing. Westland, started by Steve Hoffman, just really, really cool, innovative stuff. And they're all so different that there's a place kind of from all of them. So there's my rant on American single malt. Like I said, I could spend too long on that. I probably already have. All right, without further ado, we got rye. And rye is a lot of fun. So Sugarlands Distilling is the best single barrel rye.
Wow.
From a company called Roaming Man. And again, they've been hitting our competitions and several competitions for quite some time, Roaming Man, and they just kill it consistently. They're always in the winner's circle. We're always talking about them as a small company who's doing great things. So if you're not hip to those guys, 10-year single barrel rye on point, 92 points from the panel on that, and the best rye whiskey of the year, Barrel King Ride Symbol by Jason Calori of Mash and Drum. Again,
man,
really obscure.
I'm sorry. No, he's Mash and Drum is kind of local to us. He's an influencer, but he's based in Columbus, Ohio. So next time we see him around the circuit, we'll have to congratulate him on that. That's awesome.
Please do, because this rye was smashing. I mean, it's really delicious.
I was going to say his other pick in the bourbon single barrel category was one of my favorites. I think it was Drum Key Solo 2.
Yep,
was absolutely incredible. So he's picking great stuff.
Yeah. So this spirit came from a really cool company called Barrel King, and Barrel King is just this like little small blending house run by a guy. His name is Jared Record, and his wife, and they do all these blending releases, and they get people like Jason, Matt Porter from ADHD Whiskey, people like that, to put these blends together and to get them out there. And they've really been a lot of fun, as I know, and you've tasted a lot of them, actually.
Yeah.
A lot of kind of wacky, like finishing combinations and stuff like that. They're really pushing the envelope of innovation and stuff like that. And some of them just are just so good. But this one rye, and you're right, we tasted the other rye by Jason too, the take 2 or the part 2 or whatever of the Ride Symbol. Also great stuff. So best whiskey. Congratulations to Jared. Congratulations to Jason from Barrel King. Ride Symbol. If you can get your hands on a bottle, good luck. But if you do, it is good stuff. Best single barrel bourbon. And this always warms my heart because I love this distillery. Starlight Distillery single barrel bourbon whiskey.
Oh man, we love Starlight
so much. We love Starlight.
And they've been with us pretty much for the 8 years that we've been here, and it's just been so incredible to watch them grow as a whiskey company. Or and their apple brandy is smashing too, no doubt about that.
Oh, it's great.
It is.
Well, and like we have a soft spot for Starlight, so I'm really glad to see that they won. When we first started our podcast, and we were just two guys like in our basements recording about whiskey and had no credentials, no anything. We start reaching out to brands and asking, like, is there anything that we can review of yours? Would you be willing to just send us samples of stuff? We always laugh that the bigger brands who can afford to do that are always the stingiest with their whiskey when it comes to getting you on a distribution list. And the small guys who have everything to lose they have that entrepreneurial spirit, and they treated us like kings in terms of like sending us every product that they made. When they had new things coming out, they were one of our very first kind of distribution lists that we were on, Brad. Mm-hmm. And from the very beginning, like we just fell in love with their stuff. So I'm really happy to see them on this list.
Yeah. Me too. Great company, great whiskey, and congratulations to them always for sure. Now, best bourbon, also best spirit of spring 2026 for Barleycorn. I'm not even used to saying this because it's so weird, but proverbial drum roll, Whistle Pig Piggyback 100 proof bourbon.
Yeah. Wow.
What the hell?
100 proof bourbon.
Where did that
Not
come
100
from?
proof rye.
No.
Yeah.
Wow.
This is bourbon of the year. Went to Whistle Pig. And it got a natural.
I don't think we've ever even done that on the show before, Brad.
I don't think so.
We've done Piggyback Rye. I don't think we've ever reviewed the bourbon.
I was going to say, I think for the competition, I tasted one of their ryes. I did not taste the award-winning champion. Yeah, champion bourbon. Man.
Yep. Man.
Good job, Whistle
Congrats
Pig.
to Whistle Pig. That's huge. Yeah.
Seriously. I'm going to have to go revisit. You know what I mean?
Yeah, right.
I can't wait to go back and get back into it. So, congratulations to Whistle Pig on best bourbon.
Well done.
Wow.
From a rye house. But listen, they've been developing their whiskey, their whiskey house for a very long time. They've been putting out experimental bourbons for quite some time now. So it's not like, they just came up with this thing. This has been part of the evolution of that whiskey house for a long time. And they've really withstood a lot of things to be standing the way they are. So I have a lot of respect for Whistle Pig, and congratulations to
100%.
All right. Yeah. So that's the list. And if you want, we can talk about your fave.
Yeah, let's do it, man. I would love to hear maybe like the top one or two from Brad and the top one or two from me. That would be fun.
Yep, let's do it.
This is crazy. I feel so unprepared on my own show right now, Brad. Like it's like we have a producer now.
It really is.
Yeah, right.
All right, Brad, let's start with you.
As we should.
Yep. Barrel King Drum Key Solo 2 was your favorite. Was your favorite spirit by Jason Calori.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yep.
I was going to say, I just pulled up my notes on it. My note first off was excellent through and through. Had complexity, sweetness, lots of rye mint in the best ways. It just had all sorts of really beautiful balance of the richness of rye underbelly with lots of like caramel candy and oak and pepper. Man, oh man, I really can't say how delicious that was.
Excellent. And I can't wait to send this to Jason Calori.
Yeah.
All right, Brad, best number 2 was Craft Irish Whiskey, the Don.
Yeah.
Wow.
The Don.
John, I got to be honest with you. I have not heard of this brand before tonight. It clearly they're making waves in the industry, but this is, I'm very intrigued now.
Yeah. I believe them to be a very small company that's really just trying to get a foothold in here. That's my very small understanding of it. When we talk to them, it's always with the same person. It just, you know what I mean? But obviously they're putting out some really, really exceptional juice right now. So congratulations to them.
I will say I think the only Irish whiskey I've had that's better than this is the Bushmills 29 and the Bushmills 30.
All right. Well, that's some good company to be in.
Right.
Like,
Exactly.
I really, really loved the Don.
Yep. Totally makes sense. I know you said 2, but your third favorite, Brad, was Tennessee Hill's Goo Goo Cluster Cream Liqueur.
Dude.
I love it. I love it.
We had to get that in there. Listen,
So John, I will confess. I will confess, it had in the category flavor specified Goo Goo Cluster. And I was just so curious. I've never heard of a Goo Goo Cluster. I had to Google it. And so I found the product online and was like,
yeah, it's like a turtle.
And it's a turtle. And Bob, when I tell you that this tasted like a creamy turtle liqueur, that was, I went in with very low expectations, and it was freaking amazing. It was so tasty. And honestly, when I taste whiskey, across the board, I feel like I have an ability to judge it just based on the merit of whiskey. Whenever I move outside of whiskey for a tasting category, I try to treat it like the AKC dog show, where the standard is, does this miniature schnauzer look like the most miniature schnauzer you've ever seen? Does it look like what it ought to be? I try to do that for spirits I'm not quite as familiar with. And so with liqueurs, you're kind of well, I read what a Goo Goo Cluster is supposed to taste like. And then I drank the Goo Goo Cluster liqueur and I was like, yeah, that seems like a liquid version of what they're shooting for.
We have a match.
So it was incredible. It was so tasty.
Hey, man. Nothing wrong with a little something sweet.
That bums me out because I know that nothing that I gave good scores to is going to have as fun of a name as the Goo Goo Cluster Cream Liqueur.
Yeah, you're probably right.
All right, let's get the focus on Bob. Where's Bob drinking?
Bob, we go back to Barrel King. Barrel King sent in quite a few entries this year. They had just such a wild array of stuff and flavors and everything else. But this one was Barrel King Barrel Run 2025 number 2, finished in white wine wild turkey barrels. So there you go.
Man, I do remember this one.
Yeah.
Do you happen to have my notes pulled up there?
Excellent barrel finished American blend with coffee cream, baking spice, subtle floral notes, a powerful spice bomb palate, black cherry, and strong ethanol intensity. The proof is assertive, but the palate expands in impressive waves. And
there you go.
These are great notes, by the way. I really, really appreciate it because it really kind of gets into what's going on here. And, especially when it comes to multiple finishes and stuff like that, being able to identify for them to be able to articulate the flavors is very, very important in judging this stuff, right? Am I getting all of this stuff? You kind of should be, or what's the point, right?
Right. Well, and that's kind of I think sometimes people don't understand with secondary finishing. If I'm finishing something in a white wine barrel, it's not necessarily just because I want grape notes added to my whiskey. It's about the interplay of what's in the juice and what that is. I didn't expect coffee cream notes to come out of a white wine barrel finish, but something about that alchemy brought out a creaminess. And I think that's the fun part of it. Is I think all I saw going into it was barrel finish, and then you gave the type of barrel. And I didn't get white wine notes on it, but I got something that was much more complex because of that.
Right. Excellent. Well, that was your favorite. Your second favorite was also Barrel King. I did give you guys a lot of the Barrel King stuff.
Wow.
Winter is Coming by Dan Shook of Bourbon Junkies. Put this together with Jen from Barrel King. And you found it to be an excellent high-proof bourbon with bright pepper, lemon curd, orange zest, fruit cocktail, dark caramel, cinnamon, candy, white chocolate, cayenne, butter, spice, and char. Viscous, layered, and well-structured with a memorable spicy finish. And, again, a perfect cap, on this whole thing. Viscous, layered and well structured says so much about the integrity of the whiskey. And then the tasting notes that right on top, are complex and all sound pretty delicious also. So there you go. Dogfish Head, Samba Amburana,
I'm a sucker for amburana.
He is.
I am one of the few left in this industry that is a ride or die for amburana finishes. They are just, there's something about the way when they're dialed in,
right?
There's nothing better.
It's hit or miss for me, but when they hit, and boy, do they! Like it's
absolutely
it's really, it's just a really unique flavor and a really unique spirit, but it can easily be overdone. And if it's, if there's too much amburana, if you will, I don't know, it just crushes it for me. And congratulations to Dogfish for being able to find that proper balance, in there. And you also called out the Starlight Distillery single barrel, that won best single barrel, and you also had a hand in awarding best single barrel rye to Roaming Man. So
awesome.
Right on. So that was your top 5 right there.
Brad, I haven't looked at these notes in over a month. And so when John started reading them, you kind of start questioning, like, is this really something I wrote? Does that sound like me? And then he started saying things like viscous, and he started talking about amburana. And I was like, oh, I'm not as complicated of an individual as I like to think that I am.
Sure
These
not,
are all
Bob.
dead giveaways that Bob Book drank these things.
If I hear the word funk or amburana, I'm like, oh yeah, that's Bob liked that.
Bob did. Which, you know what though, like that's the cool thing about being able to drink whiskeys without knowing a ton about them, and John, you guys give basic information about these whiskeys before we go into the tasting of it, but it's really nice to have your palate kind of confirmed, not just when you get to award something like we've had the privilege of doing here or being part of that awards process, but learning like I may not have even known that was an amburana finish when I went in to drink it, and clearly I like that. You know what I mean? So it's this cool sense of validation, and it's a huge honor for us, just to bring this back around. This is one of the more prestigious tasting competitions globally at this point, I would say. It's super well respected. I'm really happy to have you on here and kind of spread the word about it. But from the perspective of Brad and I, this is the kind of competition that gets us excited because it keeps the focus on these brands. It keeps the focus on kind of preserving the integrity of the panel as well, in terms of talked about the palate fatigue, avoiding the sort of pitfalls that can come with that traditional model. John, before we let you go, I want to let you give the competition, the society, a quick plug. Where can we find you guys, and what's next kind of down the pike for these awards and the society?
Absolutely. So, first of all, barleycornawards.com is where to check us out, is where to see the judging panel. I'm so proud of our judges. I want to talk about them all the time because I think we have the most influential judging panel on the planet. I really do. And you guys certainly notwithstanding, like, it's so good to have you guys on. We come out twice a year, which also separates us from other competitions. We find so many of our entrants want to talk about, stuff that that are coming out late in the year that they want to plug for the fourth quarter to get in for the Christmas season and everything else. So we have a fall competition as well. So that's what's coming next. And we're really excited about that. So we take the spring competition and we take the fall competition. And of course, we taste that off to come up with best in show. So that comes out at around the end of the year, right around New Year's or something along those lines. But it's always around that point or whatever. And that will conclude 2026. So we're just getting started on this year, and we're already planning for next year. We're gonna do some really cool, innovative stuff next year also.
This was a blast, man. John McCarthy, thank you so much for joining us on Film and Whiskey. We hope to talk to you again soon.
Thank you, man. Great to see you guys.
We need to talk about your favorite movie at some point.
Yeah,
that's true.
I wrote that down too. But I'm not a film buff. So you might
next go around. We'll talk your favorite movie for sure.
Good, man.
Guys, we will be back on Tuesday with another regularly scheduled episode. But until then, I'm Bob Book.
I'm Brad G.
And we'll see you next time.